the backend is sending the correct message to the front end, but right here we need to actually handle those errors. So you can see that unhandled rejection and then internal server error. So the client needs to handle this error. So let's go back to IntelliJ, and in here, so in this check status, we basically convert non-200 responses into errors. So we have an error where we have the status code, and then here we have the error.response equals to the response that we get back from the backend, and then we reject it with a promise by passing the error. Now, the way that we handle this is if I open up app.js, and in here, so inside of this function app right here, where we have the fetch students, so get all students is this one, so get all students. Then we have the check status, and what we're not doing here is handling the error. So here, let's say dot and then catch and then error, and then in here we need to basically, let me just indent this just like that. Then in here I'm going to say console dot and then log and then error dot and then response. So error dot response is a response in here. So if I go back and save, and let me go back in here, and you can see that this now looks a little bit better. And you can see that if I go to the console, have a look in here. So we have an object, and this object has a bunch of things. So here we have the OK, it's false, the status text, so on and so forth. But we also have this JSON right here, which is the JSON that the client, that the backend has sent. So in here, what I'm going to do is, so in here, let's say error dot and then response dot and then JSON and then dot and then so this is a promise, and here we have the data. I'm going to call it data, or maybe just res, and here I'm going to say console.log and then res. And if I save this, semicolon there, and here as well, save, go back, and now you can see that we have the object right here. So oops, and then error, which means that we can now take advantage of this JSON payload and then basically have a notification. So remember, before we had this notification. So here, if I open a project and then go to notification.js, we have the error notification. So let's just use it. So here I'm going to go to app.js again, collapse this, and then here I'm going to say error notification, and then the message I'm going to say there was an issue, and then for description, so if I put this like that, and then for description we're going to basically extract the, if I go back, we have the message in here. So message, and you can see that this already kicked in, but basically I'm on the description. So here I'm going to say res dot and then message. And if I save this, go back, and now you can see oops and then error, and this is cool. So we can also include the, so here you can see that we have the status, and we could change that to status code, but so here I'm going to say in here, let's just use the backticks like that. And this will be $, and then that. And then I'm going to say, so basically here within curly brackets, I'm going to say status code, column, and then we can pass basically the status, right? So here I'm going to say $, and then curly brackets, and then res dot, and then status. And there we go. So you could actually customize this the way you want. Maybe you could just have, for example, like that. It's totally up to you. So let me save this and then go back and oops, error, and then 500. So this is taking shape. Now the last thing that we have to do is, so now I can collapse this, and also you can see that we have a bunch of other things. So the path, the error, so internal server error, you could also include that if you want, right? So here we could say like that, and then res dot, oops, so res dot, and then error. So this error right here, and if I save this, go back and check this out. Oops, error, and then 500 internal server error. So this is looking good. So now the last thing that we have to do is basically we need to say set fetching to false, and we're going to take this from here, and then we're going to say, so basically I don't want to do it in both places in catch as well, but instead what I want to do is in here I'm going to say dot, and then finally, and this takes a function, and the function is set fetching. So let me just indent this like that, and then remove that, and I need the error. I just did that, I just removed it by mistake, and there we go. So in fact, yes, so there we go. So my IDE is actually being slow. So save this and then go back, and now check this out. So this is working beautifully. So you can see that we have the notification, and then we have the node data in here. So this is our component. So if I refresh again, oops, there was an issue. Now let me go back to IntelliJ, and in here, let's open up student controller, and let's just revert this change right here. So we don't want to throw an illegal state exception anymore, and then revert this and restart the server. There we go, up and running. And if I reload now, you can see that this is working beautifully. Next, let me go ahead and give you another exercise.